Welcome back to CapitalCroc, the premier briefing for global leaders who need to see around the corner. On the ground in China right now, there's this strange paradox playing out. On one hand, it's a brutal retail battlefield, endless price wars, discounts, a palpable sense of economic chill.
Yet, on the other hand, certain sectors are white hot. China's electric vehicle factories are churning out cars at a world-conquering pace. Their solar panel and battery production is simply dominant.
Exactly. It's a hot and cold economy all at once. So the billion-dollar question we're tackling today is this a temporary flu or the beginning of a new economic ice age for China? And how long is this winter going to last?
The answer isn't in quarterly reports. To understand this, you have to zoom out, way out. We need to talk about the 60-year megacycles that shape economic history, known as the Kondratiev Waves.
The Kongbo cycle. Sounds academic, Weijie, but let's make it real. What does a Soviet economist from the 1920s have to do with the price of a Tesla in Shanghai today?
Everything. Think of economic history not as a straight line, but as vast 50 to 60-year empires, each built on a single game-changing technology. The first wave was steam and textiles, which built the British Empire. The next was steel and railways, which made America a powerhouse. Then came electricity, cars, and finally the information age, powered by the microchip.
And China was the ultimate beneficiary of that last wave, the information age. It joined the WTO in 2001 and became the world's factory, riding the globalization wave to unprecedented growth.
Precisely. But every wave eventually crashes. The technology matures, debt builds up, bubbles form, and then they pop. That pop is the Kondratiev winter. It's a painful but necessary reset. China right now is living through the violent collision of two of these waves, the winter of the old cycle and the very first shoots of the next one.
Let's dig into that old cycle first. The engine that powered China for 2 decades is stalling out. I'm talking about real estate and local government debt. The source text describes a classic Minsky moment.
It's a perfect description. Hyman Minsky's theory outlines 3 stages of debt. First is hedge financing, where your income pays off both principal and interest. It's healthy.
Then comes speculative financing, where you can only afford to pay the interest. You're rolling over debt, hoping asset prices rise.
Which is exactly what Chinese property developers and local governments did for years. They bet on ever-rising apartment prices and land values to sustain the model.
Until they hit the final stage of Ponzi financing. That's when your income can't even cover the interest. You're forced to borrow new money just to pay the interest on your old loans. The entire system now depends on a constant flow of new money and greater fools. When that stops, the system collapses. That is the Minsky moment.
And that machine has now officially seized up. The source estimates a staggering 60 trillion yuan. That's nearly $9 trillion in hidden local government debt. The old engine isn't just sputtering. It's thrown a rod.
Correct. But while that old world is freezing over, Beijing is desperately trying to kickstart the engine of the next Kondratiev wave. The source calls this the green tide.
Right, the new 3. Electric vehicles, lithium batteries, and solar panels. And the numbers are staggering. China now accounts for over 60% of the global EV market. It's the world's #1 auto exporter, overtaking Japan. It produces over 80% of the world's solar modules. This is the hot side of the economy.
It is, but this is where the paradox gets dangerous. They've built so much capacity so quickly that it's creating what the source calls green deflation. The competition is so ferocious that prices are collapsing. EV makers are in a brutal price war, and solar panel prices have been cut in half.
So they're winning the global market share game, but torching their own profit margins to do it. It's a boom that feels like a bust, flooding the world with cheap green tech, but not generating the wealth at home needed to thaw the entire economy.
And the rest of the world is taking notice. When Brussels and Washington see a flood of subsidized, below-cost products, they don't call it hyper-competition. They call it dumping. The EU's anti-subsidy investigation into Chinese EVs is a direct result of this strategy.
So, on top of the old engine freezing and the new engine creating deflation, there's a third, even colder front moving in, the human factor. The demographic winter is here.
It's stark. China's population is shrinking. The youth unemployment rate grew so alarming, exceeding 21%, that the government simply stopped publishing the data. The confidence of an entire generation has been shaken. You cannot power a consumer economy when the consumers are unemployed, underpaid, and uncertain about the future.
And compounding it all is a political handbrake. The source is unflinching on this. The unpredictable regulatory crackdowns on tech and other sectors have shattered the private sector's confidence. Private investment as a share of the economy is falling because entrepreneurs fear the rules can change overnight.
This is the core of the problem. Every rational economic solution, from implementing a real property tax to providing a stronger social safety net to boost consumption, runs headfirst into a wall of rigid political ideology. The system has become too centralized and too brittle to make the pragmatic reforms it needs.
So, given this collision of a debt winter, a deflationary boom, and a political freeze, where does China go from here? The analysis lays out three potential paths. Vijay, walk us through them.
Path 1 is the optimistic scenario. Short winter, quick spring. In this version, Beijing enacts deep structural reforms. They fix the local debt crisis, boost the social safety net to spur consumption, and successfully pivot to the green economy, which begins to reinflate growth. It's the ideal outcome. It's also the least likely, as it requires a level of political courage and pragmatism that is currently absent.
Okay, what's path 2?
Path 2 is turbulent transition. This is the crisis scenario. The debt bomb finally goes off, triggering a regional financial crisis. Facing instability, the government is forced into a messy, reactive bailout. The economy sees wild swings, maybe even a year of negative growth, before a forced reform agenda gets them back on track. It's change born from chaos.
And the third path.
The third and perhaps most realistic path is the long winter. In this scenario, there is no grand crisis and no grand reform. Instead, Beijing chooses what it perceives as stability above all else. They manage the decline, extend debt, and prevent collapse, but they never solve the underlying problems. The result is a long period of stagnation. Think Japan's lost decades, but with more authoritarian control. A slow, grinding freeze with no spring in sight.
A truly sobering set of choices. So let's bring this home for our audience. What are the concrete takeaways?
For global businesses, the key takeaway is that China is no longer a single monolithic growth market. It is a deeply bifurcated economy. The opportunities in the hot sectors like EVs and renewables are real, but they come with extreme pricing pressure and geopolitical risk. For everyone else in the cold sectors, you must plan for a future of weak consumer demand and policy uncertainty. Your China strategy can no longer be growth at all costs. It must be resilient, diversified, and clear-eyed about the long winter.
It is, but where the profit margins get compressed is in the consumer market. Beijing's state-led production blitz means the electric car in your driveway and the solar panels on your roof are likely to get even cheaper. In a way, the West could end up being the biggest beneficiary of the green deflation that's freezing China's domestic economy. They're effectively subsidizing the green transition for the rest of the world, whether they intend to or not.
An incredible dynamic. That's all the time we have for today.
Stay sharp, not just invested. See you on the feed.